Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Gooner Pavilion. Hope you're all well. It's the international break. And I want to get into something today, which will probably be one of my most researched pods. So, this one, you're going to love it because I'm going to take you guys to school on this one. So, school is in session in this Gooner Pavilion. Um, I'm a little bit, pissed off a little bit about what's going on in the international break. Because when I'm looking at this latest England squad, I'm looking at Thomas Tuchel and his explanation for leaving Myles Lewis-Skelly at home, who's sitting at home and just, thinking and watching the game. And my question is, are we really doing this minutes thing? Or is Thomas Tuchel just trying to prove a point and taking on a couple of players? So I'm going to invite you guys to come on this journey with me as we try and make sense of what Thomas Tuchel said and whether it's justified while Myles Lewis-Skelly is not in the England squad right now. Okay, so let's start with what Thomas Tuchel said. Because he left out Myles Lewis-Skelly out of the England squad. This is the November England squad. And I'm kind of paraphrasing, but this is the gist. Thomas Tuchel has said that Myles Lewis-Skelly needs to get minutes. He won in October when we had the international break. And when he got in, that he kept him there just to, keep the same type of player. But he needs to start getting lots of minutes. So the official line is quite simple, right? You don't play enough for your club, you're out of the England squad. That is the official line, guys. So it sounds clear, sounds logical, sounds very high standards, no favorites, right? I'm taking the best player. I'm taking the player that's on form, who's doing lots of things in this club. These are the players that I'm going to be taking to the World Cup. So until you start to look a little bit deeper into this, and specifically what Myles Lewis-Skelly has done and who is in that current squad right now. So let's talk about Myles Lewis-Skelly and let's put his CV for England and for Arsenal, as well. So he scored in his England debut, becoming the youngest ever scorer for the Three Lions in a competitive game, 18 years and 176 days, breaking Marcus Rashford's record. He then became the youngest English player ever to start both legs of a Champions League semi-final in that same year. And very specifically, it points out that just weeks ago, he ran Atletico Madrid ragged in the Champions League because Myles Lewis-Skelly is starting the Champions League game for Arsenal. And it wasn't a dead rubber game. It wasn't a game that didn't mean anything. It was a game that Arsenal needed to win, considering what was in front of them. And this is not like, playing Karabag, a team like that. This is Atletico Madrid in a very high level tie. So when we say that Myles isn't playing, let's be honest, what does that actually mean, right? Okay, he hasn't started a Premier League game this season. His total minutes, are under 90, right? Okay. So that's like cameo territory. But is there a reason why he's not starting a lot of Premier League games? Now you have to understand where Arsenal are right now at the moment. Arsenal are a team that are trying to achieve the highest honors in the English Premier League. We're going for the title. There's no bones about it. Everyone within that squad is conscious that in order for us to win this title, it's going to be a team effort. The other times that we've fallen short, we've had injuries to critical players. So Mikel Arteta, I believe, is making sure that everyone in that Arsenal team is getting the right amount of minutes. Now, we know Ricardo Calafiori is doing very well right now, and there's no reason to take him out of the team. There is no reason. And when Myles Lewis-Skelly comes into the team, it's not like as if there's a drop-off. So as a manager, I can understand why Arteta is starting with Calafiori, but it's a long season. I mean, Calafiori's injuries record I am more than convinced that Myles Lewis-Skelly is going to get all the minutes that he needs. I mean, we're going for the Champions League. We want to have a good cup run, Carabao Cup, FA Cup, which I know Myles Lewis-Skelly is going to be a fixture of. And then he's starting every Champions League game so far. So if Mikel Arteta can trust Myles Lewis-Skelly on the biggest stages in the Champions League, in semi-finals, why isn't Thomas Tuchel able to trust Myles Lewis-Skelly? What is the problem there? For a 19-year-old who's broken into the England squad, right, and broken into the best squads in Europe, and we're talking about Arsenal right now, that's a young player that's stuck between Ricardo Calafiori, Hincapie in a stacked Arsenal squad. So I was listening to Charles Watts when he calls Thomas Tuchel's omission is a little bit harsh, and I agree with him. And I believe that England is actually hurting ourselves by keeping Myles Lewis-Skelly out of the England squad. He has to go. So is this really about, is Myles good enough? Right? Because we've already had that answer on the pitch. We've got last season, we got what he's doing in the Champions League. He's also got an assist in the Champions League this season. So we have that answer already. Okay, let's get to it, because he's the name that Tuchel is explicitly saying is ahead of Myles Lewis-Skelly. So this is not an O'Reilly slander, right? Because like I said, he is a serious player. He's a midfielder by trade, again, similar to Myles Lewis-Skelly, that Guardiola has converted into this hybrid left back, playmaker role that he always does, right? In the FA Cup quarterfinal at Bournemouth, he came on as left back and completely changed the game. Let's give him credit. Assisted Haaland's equalizer with a driving run and cross, then slipped in Mamouche with that outrageous reverse pass for the winner. So O'Reilly is no mug. He's no mug whatsoever. But here's the key question, guys. Is he better than Myles Lewis-Skelly as a left back? Or is he just starting more league games right now? Now, the 3 added minutes piece on England's left back is really clear, right? It said that Myles Lewis-Skelly is probably the best English left back in the game. But I could say the same thing about O'Reilly, right? O'Reilly is a good all-rounder. He's probably got less experience right now, in terms of high-pressure games, right? He started in the Champions League for Manchester City, but we're talking about a player that has played in pressure games already in his career. So if we start to join the dots a little bit, right? Thomas Tuchel says Myles needs more minutes. Nico has more starts. Now, in terms of attributes, I'll ask you, in this Thomas Tuchel system, who is the better option? Is it Myles Lewis-Skelly, a better passer, better ball carrier, probably the better defender, not easily knocked off the ball, right? You can't tell me that this is just about minutes, for Myles Lewis-Skelly. And should that really be the importance, right? When a player is playing in high-pressured games. And it doesn't come any more high-pressured than Champions League games. And that's my question. Who fits this model a little bit more, right? And hey, listen, he's the manager, so he can have a preference for a player. But don't really come out and start talking about the fact that it's because he's not playing a lot of minutes, right? Because even then, I remember when he just came in, Marcus Rashford and Jordan Henderson, who was hardly playing for the Ajax team, was making the team. I didn't hear anything about you're not playing a lot of minutes. Because at that time, Marcus Rashford was on loan with Aston Villa. And it wasn't like as if he was playing every single game. But Thomas Tuchel called him up. So if you tell me that there is lots of competition in the position, right, I can understand that. If you look at that number 10 position, you've got Foden, you've got Bellingham, you've got Morgan Rogers, you've got Cole Palmer. So if you leave a player out just based on the fact that, okay, there's so many players there, I understand. But a player like Myles Lewis-Skelly that can actually cover multiple positions, he can play a left back, he can come into the middle, you can actually push him a lot further up front on that left-hand side. Why would you not have a player like that that would be an asset in a World Cup? And we're talking about a World Cup that has got 3 group stage games. You're telling me that in those 3 games that Myles Lewis-Skelly cannot do a job? I find that very hard to believe. And listen, right? Tuchel is selling us this idea about pure meritocracy, right? Play regularly for your club or you don't play for England. Cool, fine, high standards. We all nod along, right? But you look at the rest of his decisions. He was happy to leave out Jude Bellingham, Phil Foden, Jack Grealish from the previous squad, not because they were bad, but because he wanted continuity with the group that was always reigning, right? Because Jude was playing for Real Madrid, right, when he didn't get the call. Jack Grealish is playing for Everton right now, regularly, making the difference. So this whole minutes thing to me is not really washing, right? He started Morgan Rogers at number 10, while Bellingham and Foden sat on the bench. And Tuchel has literally used the hasn't been on the pitch enough line before to justify leaving, him out. Or is it a tool he pulls up effectively when it suits him? Because with Rodgers, the message is club form. Yeah, it's a bit patchy, but he's doing it for me, so I'm sticking with him. With Myles, the message is you were doing it for me. You scored on your debut. You broke records. You shone in big games. But now that Calafiori is cooking, I'm going to pretend that Champions League football doesn't count because you're not starting enough league matches. Okay, guys, you make the decision. Now that O'Reilly is in, he probably deserves a look, right? And it's just that for me, I think that the bar for Myles Lewis-Skelly has risen a lot higher than other players. So for me, it's a weird kind of snobbery, right? This Champions League versus Premier League, starter or nothing. O'Reilly is being rewarded for a run in the Premier League and FA Cup starts at left back for City. Fair play to him. Myles is being punished for playing Champions League football this season and being blocked by a 50 million level signing in Calafiori, who has done nothing wrong to come out of the pitch. Again, if Myles was rotting in the under 21s, not playing in any kind of competition for Arsenal, I'll get it. But he's around a seriously competitive Arsenal side, trusted in elite European games. And every analyst is actually just, deep diving the numbers and is coming back and saying, well, for the way that Tuchel wants to play left back, tuck in, circulate, defend one-on-one, Lewis-Skelly is bang on to do that job for him. So if Champions League minutes don't qualify you as playing at the high level, what are we doing here, guys? What are we doing? Okay, so for me, Myles Lewis-Skelly should be in the squad. Maybe not as a starter, right? But he should be there because that's the bottom line. And no one's saying that Myles Lewis has a right to play for England and start for England. Calafiori's form has complicated things from a club level, and that's real. I understand that. But for this England team on the eve of a World Cup, he's already integrated in the team because he's had call-ups already and he's worked well. Even Thomas Tuchel talked about his behavior when he's with the squad. He's already delivered for Tuchel. First goal of the new era, history-making debut. He's prolific at left back, athletic, secure on the ball, strong, can't be bullied off, excellent in 1v1, which is exactly what Tuchel wants. So if you're serious about building a group for a tournament, you don't just say, oh, your minutes dropped for 3 months, so we'll bin you off completely and start again from zero with someone else. Bring him, even if he's not starting, bring him. Let him train in the tactical shape. Let him build understanding with the rest of the back line. Let him be an option off the bench when you need a proper defender who can still play like a midfielder. Because there will be games like this. We remember what happened in Euros. We remember the Spain game. Remember the games that we needed someone that would come in and just control things. And in tournament football, we've had a lot of times where England has been ahead in games, but we just can't see it out. Isn't Myles Lewis-Skelly the sort of player to come in and do the job for you? Because what Tuchel wants is control. And guess what he does in an Arsenal team? a team that likes control. Myles is 19. Calafiori could get injured and form swings, right? So I'm just frustrated, right? Not because an Arsenal player deserves anything automatically, but because the logic being sold publicly doesn't match the reality of Tuchel's other decisions. Champions League minutes and international performance are now seen not compared or better than going to play at Sunderland or playing at Brighton away on a Sunday. And one of the most talented left backs England has had in years is being held to a standard that others in that squad just aren't. And that is it for me. If you want to say, look, I think O'Reilly fits my ideal better. I like his profile. I see him as my guy. Fine. That's your opinion. That's great. He's a manager. He can make that decision. And that's football. Managers are allowed to have favorites, right? We see it all the time. But don't dress up as some strict minutes and meritocracy thing when Morgan Rogers is starting at 10 while Jude Bellingham watches from the bench. And when analysts are literally writing that Lewis-Skelly is probably your best left back for this exact same system. So for me, Myles Lewis-Skelly should be in the England squad. Even if he doesn't start, he should be in the group, building towards that World Cup. And if England land in a knockout game next summer, 1-0 up with 20 minutes to go, defending that back post against some elite winger. We're talking about a player that has played against Vinicius Jr., some of the top players in Europe, and has held his own. I know who I want to see at that left back. And this is a kid who ran Atletico Madrid ragged, scored on his England debut, and has barely put a foot wrong for club or country. Not the guy who just happens to have a slightly bigger minutes, column right now this month. Listen, guys, I just think that, Myles Lewis-Skelly deserves better, right? Nobody gets an automatic right to get into the England club. But let's not dress it up as this is all about just about minutes in the Premier League. Because we know that Myles Lewis-Skelly has got more of a bigger sample size for us to look at his performances and what he's done, right? In an Arsenal shed, in an international shed, for him not to be getting a sniff in that squad. I think it's outrageous, absolutely outrageous. But let me know what you guys think. Drop it in the comments section. I want to know what your thoughts as well. Do you agree with Thomas Tuchel? Do you think that Myles Lewis-Skelly should be in that England squad? Let me know what you think. I'll see you in the next one.